going on, everybody? It's your boy JP Joe Paul back in the building. My everybody's having a great day, wonderful afternoon, a great evening. Hope you guys are feeling good, feeling light on this nice little Sunday evening. Fresh after the game, Fever gets the big dub, winning 89-78 against the injury depleted Seattle Storm team. The Seattle Storm were very, very injured coming into today's game. Apparently they only want to show the missing players. Up here they go. Ezzy didn't play today. No Noah Malonga. Katie Lou Samuelson didn't play today. So they really ran out, kind of a hospital team out there. And you kind of just saw that they didn't have the guns, you know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to, how competitive this game was, really out the gate, the Fever came out playing phenomenal. They came out playing, kind of like how they did at the beginning of the Washington game, very fast plays, hitting their shots. And when they're hitting their shots, the offense looks absolutely incredible. But above all that, before I even get into, the full game breakdown, we're going to talk about Caitlin off the rip today. This was Caitlin Clark's first great game this season. From start to finish, it all clicked. The mid-range shot clicked. The three-point shot clicked. She was out there creating for the team, getting her assist up. And with Aaliyah Boston being out with injury today, it really kind of, if I'm Stephanie White, I'm looking at the first quarter of today's game, and I'm like, this is what our team could look like every single day. Every single night, if we just let Caitlin just do what she does, come out and run the offense, pick and roll, spread the floor out, let everybody get shots, let Caitlin get everybody involved, then listen, you got the easiest job in the world at that point, Steph White. All you got to do is just let Caitlin be Caitlin, when she's rolling, when she's as efficient as she is today, and with the freedom of movement rules, or being able to just actually move around on the court, like it's the sky's the limit for what Caitlin can accomplish this season. She was on triple-double watch today. 21 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds. I thought they were going to let her go for the triple-double, but they ended up pulling the starters down when the game, was out of hand. All in under 25 minutes. Caitlin's somebody who usually plays heavy minutes. Like I said, very mature, very efficient game today. 5 of 10 from the floor, 2 of 4 from 3. Like I said, the first complete game of the entire season. And if you're somebody who's been able to actually, or if you're somebody who was watching the Fever back in 2024 during Caitlin's rookie year, and, you kind of remember just, how confident she was on the floor. Felt like she was in control of everything. Like she was the one who had the joystick in her hand, and, everything kind of just floated around what she wanted to do, and she just seemed very, very in control. You kind of had to have a similar feeling watching the game today. Caitlin had a hand in everything. And it wasn't just a situation where, her three-point shot was hot, so she was able just to rely on that. She used a little bit of everything in today's game. I believe she had a mid-range jumper. I believe she had an and one on a mid-range jumper. Getting to the rim, she's been super good this year at that. At the three-point shot, it finally looks like it's back at a more consistent level. She only shot 4 today, but 2 for 4 will definitely take that. Turnovers, Caitlin's going, get her turnovers, but we'll take a 2-to-1 assist ratio. She had 10 assists, 5 turnovers, the 7 boards. This was a great game for her. Very, very great game. And like I said, if I'm Steph White, I'm just like, we gotta just roll with this. We gotta have this be a situation where Caitlin and get back to that confidence level she was at in 2024. During the halftime of this game, the game was kind of, looked like it was going to be a bigger blowout than it ended up being. So I went back and I looked at some 2024 highlights, and really it's a great watch. If you need a refresher on what it looked like to watch Caitlin Clark during that 24 season, please do yourself a favor and go back and look, because like I said, she was just so in control of everything. She was so confident with all her movements, and it kind of made me understand why people were saying that Caitlin didn't look like she was herself at the beginning of the season, like she wasn't confident. But even during that season, it took a couple games for her to be able to catch her bearings and be able to play with the confidence that she played with at Iowa, and to feel like she could do anything on the court. And I think that as the first couple games this season, she had to see where her body was at, had to pay attention to all of that. She's trying to worry about a brand new system. She only got 13 games in the system last year. So this is like, her first full extended run, playing with Stephanie White's system. And, she had to learn it. And, she's adapting to it. Steph White is hopefully adapting to her. And I think that we're looking at a Caitlin Clark MVP season if this persists. I think right now she has to be averaging, 23 and 9 assists. I think I saw that she was second in the league in points, first in assists. So we got Caitlin Clark's stats real quick. Let's see. For the season, Miss Caitlin Clark has given us 25, 8, and 4. The shooting splits, I don't even want to look at them because I know they're probably not the prettiest, but it's all coming together. It's all coming together. So shout out to the Fever. Shout out to Caitlin Clark, looking like Caitlin Clark. The rest of the game as a whole, was solid. The entire team played relatively well. I feel like this was the first game this season where I felt like Lexi Hall really got to be Lexi Hall. And, for me personally, it kind of opened up my eyes to be like, maybe we want to roll with a situation where Lexi Hall is in the starting unit with Caitlin and we have Sophie Cunningham come off the bench. Only because Lexi is somebody who really needs to play along Caitlin for her to be successful. She's not, she doesn't have the offensive game that Sophie Cunningham has, and Sophie Cunningham is not the defender that Lexi is. So I think we really want Lexi's energy out there for rebounding, like for out there for perimeter defending, and just letting her just fill in where she's at. She was 3 for 8 today, but I feel like every shot that she took was a good shot that you want Lexi Hall to take, and every shot that she made, you'll definitely roll with that. At some point, she's gonna get that 3 ball going. This is somebody who led the WNBA in 3-point percentage, I believe, last season. So I fully believe that she'll get her 3-point shot going. She is, coming off that injury that caused her to miss some time, and she'll work back into herself. Talking about the bigs with no Leah Boston today, it was something. I feel like we didn't have anybody that really came out here and tank the game. I don't think it was a game that somebody could really come out and play poor enough for us to actually lose it with the way how Caitlin and Kelsey were playing. Mo Billings, she does some silly shit on the court, man. I got to keep it a minute. She does some things on the court that legitimately make me scratch my head and be like, yo, what the fuck's going on here? But from time to time, she'll make a nice move. She came through earlier in the first quarter. I believe she had an up and under move that looked pretty nice. She had a couple offensive rebounds. But at the same time, she'll do some silly shit. Like, I believe it was Kelsey Mitchell took a shot on the baseline, and Mo has a chance to go up for the rebound. And instead of just grabbing the rebound with 2 hands coming down and going back up, I hate to use her name like a verb again, but she reached it. She tried to do this weird tap layup all in one motion, and it ended up looking off. And then she just looked goofy. And from time to time she'll do some shit that makes her look really, really goofy. But I'm gonna say it every single game until it's not true. I love what she does for the team. I like her energy. You know what I'm saying? In 20 minutes she came out, had 5 boards, and she plays hard. She's not the best player in the league, but for what the team absolutely needs, we'll take her. Myisha Hines-Allen has definitely been the second best big to play for the Fever this season, and I'm not gonna lie. If Aaliyah missed another game, she might be the best big this season, only because Aaliyah really only dominated in that first game against the Wings. After that, she kind of was a no-show for 2 games, and then she missed this game. Myisha Hines-Allen, she does a good job at being where she needs to be. She'll come in there and she'll play solid defense. She'll come in and she'll be efficient. She knocked down all her shots today, gave us 8 points, knocked down her free throws, and down the stretch of games we saw against the Wings, we saw against the Mystic the other night, she'll make a play or two to kind of keep us in the game. So shout out to you, Myisha Hines-Allen. I know a lot of people were skeptical when they brought her in this offseason. It didn't seem like she was going to be an asset, but she's a true professional. I got to give her her credit. Raven Johnson still hasn't making a big impact yet. She got a little bit more tick this game. Played almost 17 minutes. Didn't really do much of anything. She came out, she took 1 shot, missed it, couple turnovers. I just think that Steph's got to give her more opportunity. If we drafted a point guard to be, Caitlin's backup, we got to let her play, especially in the early stages of the season where we're missing, a big player like Aaliyah Boston. We got to see what she can give us, at various times of the game, because we don't have any real bench depth when it comes to guards either, if we're being honest. We have a little bit of wing depth if you want to look at Lexi Hall and Sophie, and Myisha Hines-Allen if you want to consider her a wing from time to time. But outside of that, Ty Harris, she comes out there and runs around on the court. And if we're not going to play Raven Johnson, then we've got nothing. So we got to give Raven more tick. I think that she's a player that, alongside Caitlin Clark in certain lineups can really help the team look afloat once they get that chemistry. And that's something they need to build on. If we're not going to make any moves, in terms of free agency or bringing in new players during the season, we gotta find lineups that are actually going to work. And now let me tell you, let's talk about something that I kind of was feeling during the first quarter of this game. And it might be a weird thought to be having, when your team is out, out there having a great quarter and dominating and everything. But I'll be honest with you, it had me thinking about our big three. So don't get me wrong, I love every single member about the big three: Caitlin, Kelsey, AB. Love them all to death. I'm not going to go on a whole rant on that, but I don't think that necessarily this team is going to reach its peak with us having all three players on this team, especially if they're all going to command the contracts that we believe they're going to build, be worth. Caitlin Clark, she's eligible, I believe, for the max this offseason coming up, especially with the provision that came in the new CBA. AB just signed her contract this offseason, and Kelsey signed a supermax 1-year deal this season. And going into next season, you're gonna have to pay Caitlin. You just paid AB. Do you really want to allocate that much money to Kelsey Mitchell? When Kelsey Mitchell, honestly, if we're gonna be completely honest, she's a spark plug player, amazing scorer. She does, she does one thing on the court extremely well, but when you're looking at a roster like the Fever's roster that has the holes that it has, is it smart to play a player that's that one dimensional, that much money? It's like I said, when we have the holes that we do, when we're in desperate need for some type of depth down there, for our bigs, we're struggling real bad out there. We're relying on Damiris Dondas to play some serious minutes, some games, because we just need somebody to give us something. And money gets real thin, especially with how the salary cap work with the new CBA. Like when you have 2-3 players taking the max deals, that'll eat up a good chunk of your salary right there. I believe that the salary cap is only, I want to say it's $8 million, I believe, per team. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's $8 million per team. So when you're allocating $1 million to 2 players, that money goes real quick. And you know what I'm saying? That's where you end up with teams that are gonna end up with big holes on the roster. Like I think that the Aces are a team that's gonna have to rely on Jackie and Asia and Chelsea Gray like no other, especially in these next coming years because of the big deals that these players are signing. And I don't want the Fever to come to a situation where they're so top heavy that they can't put around a roster that can properly cover up the deficiencies of their big three, because as good as our big three is, they're not perfect players. They're not perfect players at all. Caitlin's not a great defender. Kelsey's not a great defender. Kelsey doesn't really rebound. Kelsey doesn't really get assists. Aaliyah Boston's a good defender. She's a solid player, but she's, like I said, she's only one player, and we need more help down there. So obviously it's not something to really think about too much right now. We're 2-2 in the season. We got a big game coming up in a couple of days here. Hopefully we can rest up. Hopefully we can get AB back, and we can go back and we can try to get above 500 for the first time this season. So shout out to the Fever, big dub today, and that's all I got for today's video, man. Fever still going to the chip. Yeah, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.